Welcome back to another episode of Hello Ladies, Feminism and Pro Wrestling. I am one of your hosts, Sabrina Hannon.
I am Megan Manley.
And we're gonna talk about some of the wrestling and and I really think we should go with calling our show and tell segment Wrestling Paraphernalia.
I like that.
Yeah. Did you find your bucks?
No. I have no idea where that little purse went to. And I haven't had much time to check. Like I checked a couple times, like tried to look around where I thought it might be. It's probably one of those cases where I put it somewhere where I would remember where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't remember where it is.
Yeah. Well, I had something prepared just in case. It actually just came in the mail. You already saw this, and it leads into my huge complaint about wrestling products sometimes. But I got this lovely Danhausen mask since we're still rocking a pandemic, and some places require masks. See, it's so nice. Has a nice little face of his. Very nice, very evil. And then I go to put it on my face. So if I were to wear it, like it covers everything. It covers up to my eyebrows.
It's 80% of your face.
Yeah. So if I wear it where it's supposed to be, it goes and like covers my throat as well. And it's a nice mask. I'm probably still gonna wear it. I'm not gonna and like figure out something. And it's like a nice one too that has the adjustable ears. If I was a dude, I'm sure it would fit great. But even the masks that are like the surgical masks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are fairly gender neutral. And I feel my experiences with multiple wrestling products are that their default setting are very large men. Very large men. I stopped getting the WWE Wrestle Crate and I got out of it at a good time because people started to have a whole bunch of issues with it right after I left. Like they weren't getting their shipments and stuff like that from reviews I was reading. But I stopped because if they sent socks or anything that was an accessory other than the shirt, which I had, which is actually, this is one of them, it's a Finn Balor one, which you specify the size in unisex, everything else was size to a man's whatever. So I had received these really cool AJ Styles socks that I loved that were so huge. I have small feet anyway, but the heel wound up like on my calf. It was ridiculous. So just that is my complaint. Anyone who makes wrestling products, make them either have two separate sizes or products, or do what the rest of the world does and make it so it'll fit most and not just very large men.
Right.
I feel like this would go well on Brock Lesnar, maybe the Big Show. Not a 5'2" average sized woman.
I mean, there's not going to be any germs getting in your nose, mouth, or eyes with that.
All of my face holes are covered.
Face hole.
All the face holes are covered. My ears are on my head, so they don't count. But yeah, so there's that. That is my wrestling paraphernalia of the week. Nice. I ordered that at the same time I ordered my lovely mug.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think I got them off of Tea Turtle, not sponsored.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So where would you like to begin after my rant?
I mean, we could start with like the big news of the week. I think just try to guess what tonight's big announcement's going to be, because again, we're recording this on another Wednesday.
Yes. But this won't actually come out until next Thursday. Oh my gosh, I just got glitter in my eye.
Oh no. Oh, that is the worst. That's like a tiny razor blade in your eye.
Yeah. It's biodegradable. Maybe that means it'll, I don't know if I want it melting into my eye.
No, that's probably not good.
So let's continue on.
Are we okay?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I think it is actually disintegrating into my eye,
Oof, not
but it
fun.
doesn't hurt anymore. So
An improvement.
if I have pink eye in this eye, it's not an infection, it's glitter.
I was gonna say when your eye is welded shut tomorrow, we'll know why.
Exactly. Yeah. It's glitter, nothing to worry about. Moving on.
What was I say? Oh, so right
Tony Khan.
tonight, Dynamite. Apparently, there's supposed to be a big announcement from Tony Khan. Heard today this is only the second time that he's appearing on TV, like in the ring, to make an announcement. That the last time was when Brody Lee passed. So it's probably something pretty big. I know the rumor is that they might be doing something with HBO Max to stream pay-per-views, I guess. I don't know about like back catalog. I would hope so.
That is the dream.
Right? I would love to have something where I can go back, especially All In. Like I was saying before, like I only got to see it. I mean, most of us probably only got to see it when it first aired, when they first had
not
that.
At all.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
It was really cool. Like it was cool in the moment when it happened because there really hadn't been for a long time another huge wrestling show that had numbers like WWE in the States. I mean, obviously not like Japan because New Japan has a lot of big shows. But like it just, I don't know, the whole atmosphere of it was just so like exciting and different, and it was just great wrestling, and there was like just a cool mix of people. Like it's the first time that I saw Penta, and
he's a scary man.
Yeah, he was terrifying, and he had a match against Kenny where I thought he killed Kenny in the apron of the ring at one point. That Okada was there. I mean, there was the silly thing with Hangman Page where he was taken away by penis druids.
Did you say penis druids?
Yes. So it was the payoff of a BTE storyline with Joey Ryan, who is, blacklisted now for having a lot of allegations. But there was a storyline in BTE where Hangman was like jealous of the size of Joey Ryan's penis. So he killed him with his cowboy boot. And his cowboy boot was like haunting him for a while, like talking to him, and like he was going around barefoot for a while, and like when it was ridiculous. And the payoff of it was that Joey Ryan was not really dead, and there was like all these people in like these inflatable penis costumes that came out and carried Hangman away. That was like the big comedy spot of the show. It was very bizarre.
So I had written down penis druids to look up later, and then I remembered I should not put that in the internet and crossed it out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you put in like All In, but no, never mind.
Nope. All In penis druids. No.
As that was coming out of my mouth, I realized how bad of an idea that would be.
Yeah, maybe Hangman Adam Page All In.
Maybe. But
it'll come up.
That I would love to see again. And I think it's Ring of Honor that has the rights to that, because it was like a Cody Young Bucks / Ring of Honor promotion. Which I think ties into another rumor that people are thinking that Tony Khan may have purchased, or at least like is part owner now of Ring of Honor as well.
So what I had heard about that was that the person who approached Ring of Honor for buying in is someone who is not related to wrestling currently. And if that's true, that would eliminate Tony Khan, obviously. I almost said Cody Ton. His brother, most people don't know that. Cody
Could
Ton.
be Cody. Because Cody is not related to wrestling currently. And apparently he just like responded to somebody saying that he's a stay-at-home dad now. So I mean, that could be a possibility.
Yeah, there's lots of things that it possibly could be. And this is, I mean, dirt sheets are notoriously unreliable. So I'll believe it when I see it, sort of thing.
Right.
But I swear I will do the happiest of happy dances even if it's not HBO HBO Max, even if they're not partnered with them, if they're just partnered somewhere, because WWE was brilliant when coming up with the network, not so brilliant with going with Peacock. Ugh, you cannot. So I used to love putting into WWE Network their like just a wrestler's name, and then everything would like pull up. It was fantastic. You cannot do that with Peacock. I've tried many times. Sometimes I will be just so hopeful, and I'll give it a whirl, be like, it's been 6 months, I will try. Nope, it's never. It's sometimes it's worse.
I don't like Peacock at all, and it's so buggy. There's so many times that like it freezes or kicks us out, or like
The quality drops.
yeah, it's like everything's like super pixelated. Like
How
I
long did
hate it.
how long did WWE sign the deal with Peacock for?
I have no idea. I
5
honestly
years?
can't tell you. I think 5 sounds right. That was my initial thought, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember.
Well, hopefully they still have the technology for it, although they're being sued about the network because of something techie with it. It had to do with how the operating system worked. Apparently they're being sued because they were using somebody else's operating system
Oh wow.
without paying them for it, or the model for it. I don't know. Coding, other tech words. Yeah.
I had no idea about that.
I mean, it's still nice that if you know what you're looking for specifically on the Peacock, you can find it. There's nothing like that right now for AEW. And I think that should definitely be a top priority, along with getting better guardrails to protect both fans and the wrestlers.
Yeah, there's so many times that someone goes smashing into that, and like you could tell some poor fan's knees just got crushed.
Mm-hmm. There's no point in having a barricade like that you can just like meep, and it moves. Because I mean, we see it all the time in wrestling where fans, WWE's more serious ones, they'll jump. So this little thing that you just give a little push to and a nice little opening is there.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. And at this point, I think we can go 2 weeks without hiring a new big name and get a barricade that's going to protect everyone.
Mhm.
That is my rant. I think you can tell him that we're in our 30s.
Damn kids.
Safety first. Sammy
Old
Guevara's
women
gonna
yell
kill
it loud.
himself. Plus, think of all the
What?
cool shit they'll be able to do incorporating that. I mean, Jeff Hardy, Naomi, and R-Truth have really done some great stuff using the barricade. 2 of them I'm thinking of just with the Royal Rumble. So
Kofi.
Kofi, yeah. Who did
Kofi's
I?
You said
Yep.
R-Truth.
Yes, I did. Oh, not a good moment, Sabrina.
It's the middle of the week,
Mhm.
brain's starting to get fried.
I
Another thing
said to a coworker earlier today that my brain has turned to toothpaste.
I said to a customer today that my brain was mush.
Mhm.
Because I couldn't even get out like correct wording to this poor woman.
Yeah.
And I just went, oh, like I just got so frustrated. It was like, I'm sorry, it's the middle of the week. My brain is mush.
Yeah, it's been a very, so full disclosure, Megan knows this. Earlier this week, my stepmom passed away. She had been battling with Alzheimer's, and my like just dealing with all of that, my brain is just like shutting down. Not that it's not usually doing that, but now it's more of a mush sound in my head while it does it.
No,
But,
I get that. I totally get that.
but yes, hopefully they'll get some good, decent barricades to protect all of those whom we love and ourselves.
Right. There's also a part 2 to what I'm hoping may be announced. I want some kind of partnership with New Japan, like more than they already have, because
Mhm.
I'm just with like sanctions or whatever being kind of lifted in Japan. Now like travel restrictions aren't as strict, which means that they can travel in and out of the country a little easier. And I'm really hoping to see some like Tanahashi and like Okada, and I mean Andrade and Naito have history together. Like there's so many cool possibilities that can happen. And Danielson and Suzuki have another match. That was one of my favorite matches, I think, of all time. Um, I'm hoping that it's not just like one thing, like, oh, we're going to HBO, goodbye. If that's what it's gonna be like, I'm hoping that there's like, because I don't know, they're hyping it up so much that I feel like if it was just like HBO Max, I'd kind of be like, oh, cool, and then like, okay, that's it. Like that's not something that I feel like Tony Khan needs to come out to the ring to announce. That's something that like JR can say on commentary. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like that massive of an announcement to me. I mean, it's big, but it
It
doesn't.
is, and it might be that part of the deal with HBO. Like if it is something like that where they're partnering with a network or an entity like HBO Max, it might be part of it that Tony Khan to like that was part of the selling point. Like I will come out to the ring personally to announce this and with your executive or whomever, and then you'll be put through a table. Who knows? Someone's wish, you know. I'm not here to poo-poo people's desires. Okay, yes, sometimes I am, but only the really icky stuff.
Fair.
But yes. So, yeah, and I can definitely see you sitting there just being like, New Japan, please, please, please.
Like the opposite of me at the end of Raw. I was like holding my breath, hoping it wasn't Cody. When AJ came out, I'm not even lying. Like Brian laughed at me. I was sitting there when AJ's music hit. I went, oh. He's like, he's looking at me like, did you just let out a sigh of relief? I'm like, yes. He's like, don't be relieved yet. There's still like 8 minutes left. I'm like, you shut your mouth.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised that it was AJ, and I'm excited to see AJ versus Edge. I'm excited to see AJ versus literally anyone, I think.
I love the whole like double turn because AJ has been like hinting towards going like turning face for like several weeks now, but it hasn't felt like a full-blown face turn, but oh boy did it at the end of Raw on Monday.
Yep. Also, I just want to suggest to Edge that he stops ripping at his hair like that. He is not a young man anymore, and it's not going to grow back.
He does the best crazy face though, doesn't he? Like he has the best like I've gone completely mad face.
Imagine that's your dad.
Right? Oh my god, I would never misbehave in my life.
Right?
I can't imagine him like I can't imagine him being a stern parent. He seems like he's probably the like, dad, could I have candy? Yeah, go grab a piece for me, like a like Iron Man thing, like
I feel like Beth and Edge do not have candy necessarily in their home. Like it's something that they get out in the world, it's okay, but I don't imagine, or their Halloween candy lasts them throughout the year, something like that. I don't imagine them having like cupboards full of junk food. Do you remember? I think it was on the network, or not on the network, on their YouTube, that they had like refrigerator tours or something. There was one with Edge. I don't know where I saw this. It was on YouTube. It had to be. Maybe. Yeah. Because it was him. There was one with him and there was one with Bianca Belair. And I don't know. It was about him getting ready for WrestleMania and her. So it was lead up to WrestleMania. This is all I got. This is what I'm pulling out of my toothpaste brain.
No, I didn't see. I don't really watch their YouTube stuff, to be honest with you.
Clearly I do.
No, I'm very limited on my WWE content now. It's just basically I watch like SmackDown and Raw, and that's pretty much, and not even all of it for both those shows.
So I did watch the Corey and Carmella show.
So sorry.
It's so Corey Graves put it best. Him and Carmella were doing some sort of promotional thing for it. And so I said, like, this seems like it's all sex. And Corey's like, yeah, it's going to seem like that. We're trying to get people to watch. It's not actually like that. And I would have to agree. Like, obviously it comes up. And they're also not long episodes. They're like episodes. They're like 10 or 11 minutes. Like, that's it. So there's been 4 released at this point, and it covered them like looking for a house in Pittsburgh. They actually show the front of the house that they get, which I do not think was a smart move. Like, that's pretty dangerous in my humble, always correct opinion. Like, they work with Sonya Deville. She can tell them how not good that
Like
choice
with the
was.
street, like with the number on, like the house number.
Like the front of the house. I don't know. I didn't look that closely at the front of the house, but yeah, and
That seems.
it doesn't say the street, thankfully, but I mean, it's in Pittsburgh somewhere, not in the downtown. Like, this is the information that's been given away. It's a lovely home, but yeah.
Yeah, there's nice houses in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And they had like Corey's kids there, like for the one episode. I'm sure for others they'll be there too, because they're with them on weekends apparently. But the one thing I wanted to touch on is there's a clip from the show where Corey's daughters are cheerleaders, and he's there like doing their hair before cheer, putting the bows in, just talking to them, having normal parent interaction time. And I was like, yes, normalize this kind of stuff with fathers and daughters. Normalize dads being good parents, because they can and often are. And I think it would be great if they showed masculine men like Corey Graves and The Rock doing this. So I was very excited for that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I'm sure 12 people who watched that show.
Yeah, I'm not one of them, sorry. I don't like either of them enough to even attempt to want to try.
Yeah. I mean, I think Corey Graves is a great commentator.
Yes.
I really think it was brilliant that they put him on commentary.
But some of his tweets sometimes makes me not think he's the greatest human. So
I don't follow his tweets.
He's a little petty sometimes. Be a little petty. Little petty, little bully, little mean. He can be not nice. And
it's always
really,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
It like soured me on him, like some of the things that I've seen, or like I have seen, because like other people would like respond, because I don't follow him, but like if he's really an ass that time, like that day, maybe some of the other like wrestlers or wrestling world people that might respond, like I'll see that. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him.
Wrestlers on social media is always interesting, because it's is this who they actually are? Is this their character? And what really confuses me are the folks who kind of do both.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I've seen him, because I've seen some of the stuff that he's put out where he's definitely like in character. But I certainly can't say that because I haven't seen everything that you're talking about. I kind of hate it when wrestlers do the middle of the road with that. And I think most wrestlers do, with the exception of MJF and Orange Cassidy. Like, for the most part, everybody else kind of does this weird middle of the, which I get and I don't.
Hangman strikes me as someone that he like almost keeps like his wrestling separate from his Twitter. Like he just tweets like random shit. Like he's like a shit poster or something, serious he'll post. But
when he responded to Kane,
oh my God, loved.
For those who don't know, Kane and Undertaker perhaps are real brothers, because they have their same shitty takes on things. It was about somehow he took what's happening with the Ukraine and Russia and made it an attack on snowflake leftists and Democrats. And like, sir, you are a member of the government. This is not the time for your bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And then
And
Hangman's response was with links to donate. Like that's the perfect.
yeah, because also he might as well have been specifically talking about Hangman Page as well, like with what he was saying about you can definitely see him also based on that one tweet when Undertaker also said about younger generations of wrestlers being so sensitive and not carrying knives and playing video games, that for those of you who couldn't see, Megan just very demurely scratched her nose with her middle finger. Yeah.
That's my response to that.
Yes.
I mean, we've touched on that before a few times. Like, what do you want them to do? Like, beat their spouses and do drugs? Like,
some of them still do those things, but yeah, I don't.
yeah, I know. And as much as we have talked about our issues with X-Pac, Six-Pack, whatever you want to call them, from whatever promotion.
Sex pack?
Six.
Oh, Six-Pack. Okay. I was like, I've never heard anyone call him Sex Pack.
No, six, like the number. But like his response was just that gif of him blowing Kane away with the fireball.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Mm-hmm. It gives me a lot of hope that he got the help that he needed, in that it not just going to drug and alcohol counseling, but also working on the trauma that would have been underneath that to make him a better human being overall.
It seems like he has, because he seems very present now also, like in the wrestling world, like not out front and center, but like a lot of the younger, I say younger, but like our age talent, like they all seem to like him. And I mean, people can change, people can realize that they have fucked up and do better and work to be better. Just because you have done something awful in the past doesn't mean that you can't be better in the future. And I mean, I'm not going to excuse anything that he did, but I mean, if he is truly a better person now, like it's not fair to hold it against somebody forever either.
Exactly. Unless you were the person that experienced those wrongs, in which case you do you.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
Yeah. As fans, however, it's important to realize that people deserve the room to grow if they actually put in the work. And we don't know heads or tails of whether or not he has. It's just, it seems like he's showing signs that he is a better human being than he once was.
Which is good. That's what you want from people. Like, yes. You want people to realize that they did wrong and change and work on themselves. And if someone does that, then you need to give them the credit. Like,
yes. And I also give a lot of credit to folks who have a platform and don't necessarily add their voice when there's no reason for them to be opening their damn mouths. Unless, you're setting Kane on fire. GIF.
It's really funny that like half the clique are on one side of the aisle and the other half are on the other side, but they're still friends. Like it's mind-boggling to me, because I mean, Nash is pretty openly left. Like he's pretty openly liberal. You could tell by what he tweets, what he said. Like you could tell the X-Pac is. I mean, he's blowing Kane away.
Yep.
I don't know where Scott Hall stays. Scott Hall is apparently sick.
Yeah,
I saw that. I don't know where he stands. I read that people were saying he was more to the left, and then you have like Triple H, which we know where he stands, and I think Shawn Michaels are more to the right. I think those two are.
Yeah, I don't know. And they're not in the clique, but when you say X-Pac, what comes to my mind before the clique, and even thinking of Triple H, it's always DX that comes first.
Mhm.
I don't know where Billy Gunn or Road Dogg fall.
I think Road Dogg is to the right, to the right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised about any of them being to the right. I appreciate that some older wrestlers specifically do not fill in that blank for me where that question mark is. I'm like, are you a shitty human being? Well, at least you're smart enough not to tell us that you are.
Nash actually surprises me. I didn't expect that. And then, I mean, I never really knew much about him like outside of wrestling. And it was just another case of like scrolling through Twitter and just like happening to catch like, if you like if someone you follow like something, it'll pop up on your little newsfeed thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like he start popping up on mine several times. And I noticed it was like very liberal shit.
Yeah.
And I was like really shocked because I don't know, just I hate to like stereotype somebody, but just like looking at him, I just would have assumed that he was not a decent human. Like,
Well, the stories you also hear about the backstage politics and
yeah.
yeah, the abuse of power. Mm,
Yeah. I mean, WCW was a mess at the end. There was a lot of backstage bullshit, a lot of abuse of power.
yeah. Um, yeah, definitely. I feel like every few years we learn more about how shitty it really was. It's like, well, here's this little nugget of truth.
Brian and I we went on a road trip a couple weekends ago and we were listening to the Death of WCW book by Alvarez, and oh my god, some of the shit that was happening towards the end of that company, unbelievable. Because I wasn't a WCW kid, so I didn't really
No.
know a lot of it. But oh my god, like I'm surprised that it lasted as long as it did. Like half the shit that was going on, like behind the scenes, of people like quitting, and like some people like, oh, are you going to WWE? Take me with you, and like it started getting like it's no wonder that the company completely just like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They it's absolutely insane. Even just reading Jericho's books about what it was like working there. And he wasn't even there at the very end, like towards the end, obviously, but he jumped to WWE. Uh what a toxic working environment.
yeah, it seemed very much to revolve around like Nash and
Goldberg.
Hogan, Goldberg.
I do love that uh, Jericho has physically fought Goldberg before and won, because I do not like Bill Goldberg. Do not
No,
like him.
I don't get it. I'll never get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why people still, I don't know. I just don't get it. And I know that for a while, like he was more popular than Stone Cold. Like he was like the biggest thing in wrestling for a little bit. And even back then, like I said, I didn't really watch WCW, only if like my friends like switched it over during a commercial. But like even back then, I was like, okay, so this dude came out and squashed somebody in 10 seconds. Great. Can we change it back? Like that shit bores the piss out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially since so arguably someone like Wardlow had been doing that for a while on between Dark and usually Rampage, I think. He was doing that. But he was I really like his symphony of power bombs, right? That's
Yeah.
yes. I feel like it should be sympathy. Hello, toothpaste brain. Sympathy? I can't. I'm
Symphony?
done. It should be that word with the orchestra and another S word of like slams or something, but it's power bombs.
That word.
That word.
I
And the
don't
more I
mind.
think about it, the more I keep trying to say sympathy. Like
I don't
it's gone. I can't say it now.
symphony. You're gonna get me messed up on
Symphony.
it.
There we
Okay,
go. Symphony. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I had to hear somebody say it.
I don't mind the stuff with WarDaddy
Yes. Yes.
because there's like I know that he can wrestle. I've seen him in other matches. I think that's why I'm not really bothered by it because I mean it's common knowledge that Goldberg cannot effing wrestle. He basically has his spear and his jackhammered bullshit, and that's about it. Like
Mhm.
Wardlow we know can go. It's just that it's part of the push that they're trying to do with them right now with this whole
Mhm.
squash thing. And also it's playing into the bigger storyline of like his eventual turn on the pinnacle.
Yes.
So there's more layers to it than just big man come out, go boom, go home. You know, like
Yeah. And he gives good face.
mm,
Like I don't know how else to explain other than that. Then he has great facial expressions. So even though he might be squashing someone, you're still on a little bit of a facial journey with him.
his eye
He's
rolls are the best. Like the like
yeah. Just this, I think whenever he leaves professional wrestling, or leaves his in-ring work, he would be great at doing things like being in a manager one day. Like he's built for being in front of a camera, not just because he's an attractive man, but because of the facial expressions he's able to convey without being theatrical about them.
yeah, it looks very natural.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Like he looks like he's legit annoyed. Like it doesn't look like he's trying to act annoyed. It looks like he's about to like pop Sean Spears' head off. Like
Which I'm waiting for that to happen, just like a grape. Just poof. Yeah, when Spears hugged him last week, I was just
I
like,
know.
you gonna die, sir. You gonna die.
When he eventually does turn, that whatever arena they're in, it's just gonna explode. Like the roof is gonna blow off because people are chanting for him like every week now. Like they like, oh god, we just want it so bad and we know it's coming, but we don't know when. Like
I'm I'm also somewhat surprised that there aren't, and this is gonna sound, I'm just gonna say it. I'm surprised women aren't actually throwing their underwear in the ring at him at this point. I think when he does the turn, that's going to happen. And men. I'm sure several men will as well. Those guys that had the WarDaddy sign, their panties are going to be flying off into the ring. I'm telling you
yeah,
now.
boxers, briefs, panties, and bras, just a shower.
Yes. Yes.
Oh Lord. You know when it's probably gonna happen is the pay-per-view.
When the panties are going to fly, or
No,
he's going to make the turn.
well, I mean both. I think that he's gonna make the turn at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. I also, so I wouldn't be disappointed if they drag this out for another few months. I want it to happen, but I think that they can still milk it just a bit more.
I'm thinking it's gonna play into this whole match with Punk. That like MJF is gonna want him to cheat for him again, and Wardlow is just gonna be like done. And
It's either going to be the thing with Punk, or he's going to work his way up to getting his own title shot, and MJF is going to try and take it from him.
I wonder when his contract with MJF is up, because that is probably gonna come up before. Because yeah, he's still technically under under a
Contract.
contract with MJF. So
Yeah.
maybe not the pay-per-view now that I think about it, because they haven't even brought that up in a while. It's been several weeks since they mentioned his contract. They'll probably mention something about it like being up soon or something before he ends up turning.
Yeah. I'm very interested though, after the promo from last week between MJF and I can't even say between that MJF did, and then Punk said, "Is it true?" So, oh, so excited.
Yeah, that was really, we talked about that last podcast, but yeah, that was just amazing.
Yeah. I think so. There's definitely a huge hole in AEW, a Kenny Omega sized hole in AEW in his absence.
Mhm.
The people who are kind of not filling it, but blurring the lines so it's not so like heartbreaking for us all are folks like MJF, definitely Sammy. Sammy's been going ape.
Adam Cole.
Yeah, because he had just popped in. And even, I mean, obviously the Bucks are still doing great with Kyle O'Reilly. What are they? Not Blood Dragons.
Red
Dragons.
Close.
They should have gone with Blood Dragons. I know it's like an old callback, but missed opportunity. But yeah. Is there anything else you would like to cover in the AEW realm?
I don't think so, because we recorded it last Thursday, so we already did most of Dynamite.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of what happened on Rampage, to be completely honest with you.
Neither.
It was the end of my work week. I know I watched both SmackDown and Rampage, but I was so exhausted that I don't think I retained like anything from either show. I need to start taking notes so I can like look back and see what happened.
Is that where the thing with Thunder Rosa happened? I feel like that might have, like, the contract signing, was that on Rampage or was that on?
That had to be Rampage, because there was a contract signing on SmackDown and there was another one. So I remember just being like, contract signings, like they were everywhere.
Yeah. So that happened on Rampage, and that is primarily what I remember.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because Britt Baker had that like absolute fire promo that made me think that she's losing her belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, Thunder Rosa is a good one to get it. So one of the other things we had wanted to talk about was, and we've mentioned Luna before and how much we both really enjoyed her, but until very recently, we've both seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode about her, which is heartbreaking. I just watched it. Megan watched it a few weeks ago, you said?
Yeah, it has to be at least 3-ish weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
So a little bit ago.
Yeah. We both thought she was in WWE for much longer than she actually was, which tells you what a huge impact she had there. And I think one of the most heartbreaking things is at the end, well, throughout, really, right? It's a theme throughout the Dark Side of the Ring where it's like the audio of an interview where she's saying how much women's wrestling meant to her and how she really wanted to further it. And that was her biggest regret. That, and she gave up her family basically to pursue wrestling and didn't get to accomplish what she wanted to, specifically within WWE. And she died in 2010, and it was 5 years later when the women's revolution happened. Mm-hmm. And that is just heart-shattering, because I mean, China checked out in 2016, but at least she got to see the revolution, like the beginnings of it, and people really, female wrestlers specifically, starting to credit her with inspiring them. Luna didn't get that, but she was such an amazing character, and it seemed like, unfortunately, that was also who she was behind the scenes.
Yeah, what did they say that she had? Like bipolar schizophrenia?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that.
No. And especially if she was not seeking medical attention for that, or like psychological help. It's amazing that she was as successful as she was. That is beyond impressive. Clearly it came with a very heavy price to not only her but those around her.
Yeah.
And she was married to Gangrel for, I think they said 18 years.
Yeah, it was a while longer than I thought.
Yeah, which it sounded like they had a very interesting love story.
It sounded like he still very much loved her too, but it was okay. What did he say basically, that if they didn't split up, they both would have been dead?
Yeah, he said that a couple of times in a couple of different interviews, which
it was very sad
mhm,
because you could tell he still very much cared for her. And it's
yeah,
just like one of those really sad cases of sometimes just being in love isn't enough. Like,
yeah. Her son actually, Van, I think his name is, he was on he's a well-known chef. He was on one of the, like, Iron Chef or something like that.
look it up.
Yeah. Van, his last name is with an H, because I briefly looked him up because he looked somewhat familiar to me, and not just because he has some of the attributes of his mother.
Mhm.
But he was the younger of
One of the
her
Ramsay, like
boys.
Gordon Ramsay things.
Huh?
What was he on? Like one of the Gordon Ramsay type shows, or?
I think so. I don't really remember. I looked it up briefly while I was watching Dark Side of the Ring.
Gotcha.
But she's another one that was trained by Moolah, and people said Moolah abused her, and she was nearly raped because of Moolah, and that was just common. She didn't like Moolah, but she was the only woman she was a one-woman show. She was the only one training women.
If there is a hell, she is burning in it, that woman.
I hope people are like roasting marshmallows off of her. Ugh.
Remember when they tried to make that battle royale named after her for like a minute, and like all the backlash, like no, like she was like a human trafficker. How about we not do that?
As someone who has worked in against human trafficking for the past 12 years, yeah, I can verify that everything that has been said about the Moolah, she was a trafficker through and through, and the worst of the worst. Like, absolutely terrible human being. The trauma that she did to these women is
Horrifying.
Yeah, like ruining lives. And clearly Luna, so anyone who has a mental illness like that is primed for an abuser, and I'm sure Moolah took advantage of that. Yeah. Because honestly, with Luna's last name, she probably could have been trained by her family and gotten in that way. But I think maybe she also didn't want to go that route. But there was also some that, reports that she was also abused by her aunt. So, and her family didn't want her wrestling anyway. So maybe not.
The whole thing was just heartbreaking. She was set up to like have issues from the beginning.
Yeah. Her father was mentally ill, and the story about how her stepfather met her mother is just insanity. He was just there at a motel, and he heard a gunshot, and then the woman who was to become his wife ran in and said, "My husband owns this motel," and he just killed himself.
Yeah, that was like, what?
Yeah.
That whole, I mean, Dark Side of the Rings are always sad, but that one like really got to me. I think I said that to you, didn't I?
Yeah. It was a hard one to watch. Especially since like people really loved Luna, even with all of the things that she did. they were still, since they understood she was sick, and that she had these two sides of her personality. And when she was on the up, she was wonderful apparently to be around and really sweet. And then you have it where she was biting Gangrel when she first met him, which apparently he was into, to be fair. You don't marry someone who
they got like matching bite tattoos, didn't they? Is that what he
instead of wedding rings? Yeah. Which is very fitting, I'm sure. I feel like there are some other couples that probably in wrestling that do that specifically. But Luna came up again this week for me because I watched Cultaholics. They have like this new true crime thing. Forget what it's called. Let's see. Mr. Unpredictable Wrestling True Crime. So it looks like it's going to be a series, not just on this guy, but wrestling true crime in general. And it was Dirty Dick Slater. And he's mentioned in Dark Side of the Ring as well. And as well, this whole thing's about him. But I had never heard of him before this week. And to me, the most notable thing about him is he dated Luna. And in Dark Side of the Ring, people were saying he abused her. They never saw it, but they saw the aftermath. And that was not Echo. They just straight out said he abused her. I think the one time she jumped out of a 3rd-story window to get away from him or something. But he has a long history of domestic abuse, domestic violence. And he was arrested because one of his girlfriends, who had kicked him out, he stabbed her 6 times with a knife. She survived. They knocked the charge down from attempted murder and let him plead to like assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah. And then of course, when he got out of jail, he started stalking this woman again. So Jesus. Because he didn't face a real consequence.
Sad.
So, yeah. But the stabbing part is more extreme, but I mean, we've heard so many stories of wrestlers at this point who have had this type of behavior. Jimmy Superfly Snuka murdered someone and got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty obviously. And I always feel so bad for Tamina, because I think every time that comes up, any push that she might be getting kind of gets like halted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not her. She didn't do it.
No, not her fault.
I think, from what I understand, she wasn't even really raised by her father.
Which
right?
was also common back then, like for a lot of the wrestlers' kids to not really have seen or known their parent.
Mm-hmm. I know with Cody Rhodes and Dustin, there was a lot of resentment on Dustin's part because, Dusty, since his kids are so far apart in age, not only did he see like the mistakes that he had done in not being around for Dustin, but he decided he didn't want to do that. He was also much older, so that added with that hindsight really allowed him to be a great dad. Not that he was a bad dad prior, but he wasn't a present one. So
yeah, I've heard that too, that he was there more for Cody than he was for Dustin. So there was some like resentment there for that.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. I mean, if you're an older sibling, like I am, and if my parents were never around for me, but then I saw they were like around for my brothers all the time, yeah, I'd harbor some resentment towards my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think like, well, what was wrong with me? Like, why didn't they? Then you start like looking internally, like, well, I must have done something wrong. And then you have to get past all of that. And like,
yeah. And I mean, Dustin's had his substance abuse issues as well. So if you're trying to deal with that on top of it, like, but they're in a very good place now and have been for a long time, which is great.
Yeah, you can tell that they're close.
Oh yeah, they absolutely, I think, adore each other. It's very sweet. When I met Cody at a wrestling convention, it was after he left WWE, but not too long, as when he first hit the wrestling circuits, or the like convention circuits. I had asked him, because AEW wasn't even a thought that anyone had really. Maybe Cody, that was probably it, maybe. But I had asked him because I was always really sad at the fact that, you know, Goldust at the time didn't have that many years left in him. And I would have loved, and I still would love to see that when he retires, Cody is there. I love shit like that. And I had asked him, like, do you think you would go back for like his retirement match or like a celebration of his career? And he's like, I mean, that is how they'd get me back. He said I'd do anything for my brother. And I was just so like, oh. And then I think I told him, I love your wife. Can I get a picture?
Thanks.
So, but yeah, he was very kind and like very clearly loves his brother.
That's sweet.
Yeah. I have a dysfunctional family, so I absolutely love siblings who get along. So
I get along with mine. They're okay. No, we're really close. I'm lucky. I know I'm lucky because I know that there's a lot of families where the siblings like either don't get along or just like downright dislike each other. And I'm very lucky that my brothers and I are not just siblings, but like also friends. That we're very close. Like I'm very lucky. Like my brothers, I have a very close family. Brothers, parents, like we're all very close. I mean, it wasn't always perfect. No family is there, but I'm lucky. I am. I like having that bond with my siblings. Their little sibling chat and our private jokes and, you know, like all that fun shit.
Well, I think especially since they're twins, it's so with having twin brothers, did you either feel like the third twin, or were you ever just like, what the hell are you two talking about?
So my one brother and I'm close with both of them, but like when I was a little bit younger, I was always a little more closer to my brother Matt. And we were always kind of mean to Eric. So a lot, it was more like Matt and I were the twins, to the point where when we were younger, we tried to convince our brother that he was not part of our family, that we found him behind a dumpster and that he looked enough like the other one that we took him in, that he was a stray. Like we used to be terrible, this kid. We always like joked that when he got older that he would just disappear and not talk to us anymore. And he moved to New York years ago. He took off and moved to Brooklyn. He's back now. But when he left to Brooklyn, like to move to Brooklyn, Matt and I were like, see, this is our fault. We always said that he was just gonna take off and never see us again. It's weird. Like sometimes like they'll gang up on me, or like Matt and I would gang up on Eric, or Eric and I would gang up on Matt. Like it never really felt like two had a stronger bond. It's like the three of us are all like kind of equal. The only time I didn't know what the hell they were talking about was when they were like toddlers and they had like their special little twin language that they seemed to understand, that was complete gibberish to everybody else. But
I always love those. There's this video of these twins from back in earlier days of YouTube with the two. They're still in diapers, but there are two twin, I think, boys, and the one's talking and like the arms going, like, and the other one responds with their arm going. Like, they know what they're saying. Nobody else does.
Oh yeah, my brothers when they were little, they definitely had some kind of weird like little secret language that only they understood, that nobody else did. Like,
Did they ever pull twin magic on people?
So fun story. They did because of me. We had a family reunion. I was in high school, so they were either like late elementary school or very early middle school. Um, I'd be like 15, so they were like 11, like that age range. So the family reunion we went to was with like a lot of extended family, like a lot of people we had never met before. So everybody had name tags on. So my bright idea was not to make them switch name tags, to make them switch shirts in general, because everyone like saw them in first with their name tag and their shirt. So I had them go change, and for oh god, hours, everybody thought like Eric was Matt, Matt was Eric, and my parents didn't catch on because I don't think they really noticed because we were off doing our own thing. Now we start playing a softball game. Matt is a righty, Eric is a lefty.
Oh.
And that's not like total common knowledge in my family, but some like closer cousins know it. So we're playing baseball, and one of my cousins like kind of was looking. She's like, "Hey, wait a minute. That one's Eric. That one's the left-handed one. Why?" Oh, my mother was so mad at me. Oh my God. I just lost it. And I'm like, yeah, that's my fault. She was livid.
How old were they?
They had to be like 11.
Okay.
They apparently used to go to each other's classes too when they were in school to see if a teacher would notice. They told me that when we got older, that like one of them would sit in like 2 math classes in one day and like the teacher wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. I mean, so my mam, who is my mother's stepmother, is a twin. And my pap, who I think that's a German thing, pap, but that would be my grandfather on that side. They had gone on vacation, I think, to Atlantic City together, and they were all sharing a hotel room, obviously separate beds. And my pap, my mam and her sister were in their respective beds, and my Joy, my great aunt, was already asleep. So my mam was curious as to, and they were much older, like in their 70s maybe, if he would recognize like who was who. So before he came out of the bathroom, she said she slid the covers up really high so he could only see her hair, and then like watched him. And he came out, and she said he stood there for a good minute going, not knowing which bed he was supposed to get into. And finally she's like, "Get in here."
Oh my God, that's too funny.
Yeah, because she got concerned that he was going to accidentally crawl into bed with her sister.
Oh my God.
Who was sleeping and would not have been amused.
Yeah, that'd be a not fun way to wake up.
No, with your sister's husband crawling in bed with you.
Oh God. You know, my brothers look a lot alike. I think they looked more alike when they were younger than they do now. You can kind of tell the difference. Well, I never thought that they were so identical that I couldn't tell the difference, but I've also known them since they've been born. So
yeah,
my parents marked them like out of the hospital. Not like physically on their bodies, but left, I think, like a wristband on one of them, like the hospital one, and not on the other, or something like that. So they knew which twin was which until they started like recognizing different things that were like different between the two of them, or like birthmarks that one had and the other one didn't, just so they didn't mix up which twin was which.
the one who's originally Eric is actually Matt.
Sometimes I wonder that if like they did accidentally mix it up and like really Matt is Eric and Eric is Matt.
I mean, at this point, I think I'd just be like, I guess this is me.
Right.
30 years later, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. But so last week we were really good at staying on track.
And this week,
stratosphere.
There was more wrestling news last week, wasn't there? That kind of kept us like more.
Yes. I mean, there is wrestling news, just meh.
It's like speculation right now, like nothing's happened yet.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like always talking about speculation, because things like talking about Tony Khan's announcement slightly different because it's more of like hopes and stuff. But I don't like so much doing smart mark dirt sheet stuff. Like I never want to send the last Comic-Con I went to, I was standing in a line for Ruby Soho, and these two guys who did not know each other in front of me were just, one was clearly more with it than the other, but the one was like prattling on about weird conspiracy wrestling stuff that we know was like is not true because wrestlers themselves have, and not that that always means anything, but that they have, said that's not true or no, I'm not doing that. And then they went on to not do those things.
Right.
And just going on about it, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like weird conspiracy theories about Vince McMahon. And I mean, there are some that there are lots, but these were ones that just simply were not true. I can't remember what it was, but I was just like, my God.
My favorite one is about how he doesn't like when people sneeze because or he doesn't like to sneeze because he doesn't want to be out of control. And when you sneeze, you don't have control. Like there's some wild shit. We've talked
about that before, which led to the Vince McMahon doesn't like orgasms.
Oh, yes. Yes, we did.
Yes.
Oh, that was like our second podcast, wasn't it?
First or second. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was early.
Yep, bringing it all back because we've been doing this for so long. I think this is the 9th one.
All these years.
All these millennia.
I was actually thinking about that on the way home from work today. I couldn't remember what number we were on, but I was like, we've been doing this since like January, I think. It was very early, and we're in March, so we're going on the 3rd month of these now.
Yeah. I actually, so whenever I am doing dishes or like random ass tasks around the house, I will put on like something that's going to last a while. So oftentimes like a podcast or something. So, which is how I listen to so much Oral Sessions. And there's a podcast of Kurt Angle and Randy Orton's wives talking about like their experiences basically being the wives of Kurt Angle and Randy Orton. So Kim
Bless
Orton
them.
and
Bless them.
Yes. And they seem the one thing that I took away from the interview that they did with Renee, they were telling the stories of how like they met their husbands, and Kim Orton actually said, a lot of people know the story about how she was a fan of Randy's and was in the crowd, and he spotted her and came over and said something like, I need to know more about this, referring to her, and had a security guard give her his number and all this. So, I mean, she was there at the show to try and catch his eye, and it worked.
That's wild.
Yeah, like her son was holding a sign that said like RKO my mom. So a lot of people know that story, I feel like, at this point, or at least a lot of women who hope that happens to them. Not necessarily, not necessarily with Randy Orton, but
shoot your shot, it may work, kids.
Yeah. And so they went and got diner food and ate it on his bus, because obviously he couldn't be after a show just eating at a diner without getting mobbed for a first date. But she said and I was really impressed by this. So he like pushed back her hair after they'd been talking for like she said 45 minutes or something, like behind her ear, like tucked her hair in behind her ear and said something along the lines, I don't remember exactly what she said, of like, would it be okay if I kissed you now? And obviously she said yes, but I was just like, yes, asking for consent. People are always just like, oh, it's not romantic or sexy if you do that. No, it is. Randy Orton made that sexy, so can you.
I think it's like sweet.
Yes.
There's just something very sweet about it in general. It just, I don't know. Not even the whole like like asking for consent is obviously important, but like even taking that out of it, I think it's just a very sweet moment. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think
Yeah.
it's very just sweet is the best word I could think of.
Yes. I did not expect that story, and I was so happy when I heard it. In fact, so where I work, we have a program called Safe Dates where we have folks go into the schools in our area, high school and middle school, and talk about consent and like why it matters, basically, and healthy relationships and things like that. And I'm actually going to suggest and tell that story to the folks that do that here, because a lot of those kids will be wrestling fans and will know who Randy Orton is. And Randy Orton's really cool. So if he's doing that, like, clearly it has to be okay. And it worked out great for him.
Yeah, he's married to her.
Married, has additional children. Like, yeah. So
That's such a cute story. And I never thought I would like put the word sweet and cute in any sentence with Randy Orton ever in my life.
right. Yeah, exactly. But here we are. So after hearing that, I was like, maybe I will tune into their podcast, which I can't remember the name of, but I'm sure it can't be that hard to find.
No, probably not.
Yeah. It also helps that my my best friend lives up in Massachusetts. So anytime I go to visit her, it's a 5-hour drive each way. So I need something to listen to, because music gets I'll do that for a while, but after a period of time, my vocal cords start to hurt from singing along.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. I sound terrible, by the way. I don't know why I put that accent on for that. Terrible. It's terrible, I tell you.
Sound like an old timey Southern belle. Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, you want Southern Belle, and I'm here going.
No, I was thinking like the fainting, like
terrible. Clutching my pearls.
I've been like audio booking it a lot lately. I don't think I've listened to music in my car for like 2 or 3 months at this point. I've been listening to Harry Potter for weeks. I'm on the Deathly Hallows now.
I can't remember what house are you in?
Slytherin.
Ravenclaw.
Respectable. My best friend is Ravenclaw.
There's a lot of similarities between Slytherins and Ravenclaws. It's just how what we want the knowledge for, I think, is the main difference.
I think I identify more with like the self-preservation type thing. Like I always relate very hard to what was it, Slughorn's one quote where what do you say, like something like we Slytherins are brave, but like we'd always choose to save our own skin or something like that. Like I can relate.
I relate a lot to Luna Lovegood.
Oh my god, I love her.
I feel like that was very much so me as a child. It was just so weird. So weird.
Yeah, I don't relate to, like the Death Eaters, obviously, or any of that. I'd say I'm more like, and I don't even know. There's no good examples of Slytherins in those books, which I hate. Like,
so here's a fun thing that I'm just thinking of now. If we had to put various wrestlers into Harry Potter houses, their characters, not them themselves, where would they go? I feel like that could be a whole episode itself.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like I can like write a list out and make that a whole other episode.
Yes, let's do that.
I mean, immediately right off the bat, I was already associating like Kenny with Slytherin, like heel Kenny. Like that's like textbook.
Yeah. Hangman Page, probably
Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hufflepuff. I was gonna say probably Hufflepuff.
The Bucks would be Slytherin. Like heel Bucks are definitely Slytherin. They're very ambitious, cunning, self-preserving. Like they're also textbook.
So, but the thing is, the tag team battle royal, they were not doing self-preservation or Slytherin-y things. They were trying to play nice.
But at the end, they definitely did. When the whole stuff with Hangman came out, and Hangman started beating the shit out of Red Dragon, and they just did one of these and back away. That was
Or is it
very
because they love him so?
well. I mean, another thing is Slytherin is a sense of fraternity, and like your friends are your friends, and they're
Mhm.
very like big on like that's not all bad traits. It's not all
Yeah.
like
I think also right now the Bucks are at the beginning of their transition back to babyhoodum.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Babyface.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'm going with babyhoodum. I like that. That was me stopping to think if I liked how that sounded, and I do.
Because I mean, when Kenny comes back, he's gonna have to come back as a baby face. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's been gone too long. The pop he's gonna get's gonna be unreal.
Yep.
And all of this with the two Adams, and then the tag teams, and there's a lot of button heads, and then that whole thing. Like,
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. So looking forward
yeah.
to that.
Oh, I definitely want to get going on sorting people.
Yes, yes. So we will do a podcast like that in the future. I probably the near future because I'm really excited about this too. I think you are as well.
Yeah, I'm about to get like an actual notebook out and like handwrite things. Like I'm like
Yeah.
dead serious.
Because also like Bianca Belair, I think her in real life would probably be a Hufflepuff because she's so loving. But I think she's probably a Gryffindor,
I was gonna
which
say.
I don't. That is my least favorite house. My
Um,
least.
that's like my second house. Do you ever take those tests where it gives you like a hybrid house?
Yeah.
I always get the rare Slither door where I'm like partly Gryffindor, partly Slytherin, which they're very similar. A lot of their traits are very similar. They're
Yeah.
like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. I have I usually get Ravenclaw with a secondary of Hufflepuff, although occasionally I have had Slytherin, Slitherclaw is what they're
One
called.
of us, one of us.
Yeah. But usually it's that which makes sense with my career, the Hufflepuffness.
Yeah.
But my I have too much of a go fuck yourself attitude for that to be my number one house.
I mean, Tonks was a Hufflepuff, and I can very much see her having the go fuck yourself attitude.
That's true. That's very, very true. Yeah. Oh, that was so sad. Just so sad.
I know
Both of them.
I'm getting close to it. I'm getting close to it happening. I just listened to the part today where Remus came to visit them saying that she was pregnant, and I'm like, oh boy, it's coming. Like heartbreaks are coming.
Yep. Ugh. 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 That there were so many times reading the Harry Potter books, even the things that I knew were coming, because I read them as when I was in college, that I had to put down the books. Like when Dobby died, I was wrecked.
I
Absolutely wrecked.
I can't read it or watch it without crying still. Like I still can't.
I sob when Dobby dies in the show. They're not the show, the movies. And now I'm sure it would be work. I haven't watched them since having Dobby the cat, but now I
Well,
just imagine crying while holding him.
when I hear creature now, like anything about creature, I'm honestly just picturing my cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. And then I I was shocked that because in the books, Dumbledore's death is like and everything in the tomb, it's a huge thing. Sobbed. They barely touch it in in the movie, which I was fine with after having my soul pulled out through my nostrils with Dobby's death.
I could start a whole other podcast about why I hate movies 4 through 8 compared to the books. That could be hours. I can go on for hours of why I do not. I always refer to 4 and 5 as movies loosely based on the works of Harry Potter.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just so much different. But yeah, I read them, I think, I started reading them when the first 4 were out. So it was 5, 6, and 7 that I had to wait for. Like I left the bar to go wait in line for midnight for Deathly Hallows, then went home and read till 6 in the morning, woke up at 11, and then went out in my pool because it was the summer. And I just like laid in my pool for hours just reading the books. My best friend and I were trying to like race, I got like with each other to see who would finish it first. And I remember when I got to the point where Fred Weasley got killed, I
Yes.
threw my book and I go running down, like not running, but I go like walking downstairs because I was still living at home with my parents. I was only like 21. And I go like flying out the door. My mom's like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I need a cigarette." She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "It's just the book." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And that killed me because I loved the twins.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have twin brothers too.
That was another reason that really bothered me because I have younger twin brothers and like I just could not picture only one of them being gone that young, and that like it really like it just really, I think anybody that is a twin or has twin relatives in their family, like it would really affect them to read that part because you really can't picture them as not being a set. And
Yeah.
to think of one of them being, especially when like I think they were only 21 in the books at that point, like that's way too young. But yeah, this just turned into a Harry Potter podcast apparently.
Well, I was about to take this to a darker place. So the Nazis did experiments on twins, and the twins that survived, or rather usually the one twin that survived, because they would separate them and they would torture one of them to see if the other would feel it and things like that, and just all these awful things. And I can't obviously going through the Holocaust and was beyond words horrible, but to have the addition of being a twin and knowing that your twin, like luck of the draw, is the one that's being tortured and maimed, and like sometimes they did get their twin back, but they weren't whole anymore, like these, or like they had been given different substances and things like ugh,
Horrible.
ugh. Yeah, twins have always fascinated the world, some to a sick degree,
Yeah.
others to a sexual degree.
Which I never got that either.
Well, no, again, you have younger twin brothers.
Yeah, that's true. That would be really weird if I did understand that. I think that'd be a whole other
Intervention in the podcast.
yeah, that'd be some weird ass nope. Like
And I'm sorry, I keep kicking the stand that my camera is on, so it keeps rocking back and forth. That's why I keep going like
but no, I like the idea of us doing a like a themed podcast like that. Where are we?
sorting the wrestlers.
Man, I'd love to do another one where you like find out which camp, like which cabin they'd be in Camp Half-Blood. I don't know if you never read Percy Jack. Oh,
Nope,
bummer.
sorry.
You should read those. If you like Harry Potter, you'd probably like Percy Jackson.
I think I saw the movie. There's a movie, right? That was garbage.
The movie doesn't exist. Kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like it
Oh,
doesn't
yes.
exist.
Yeah, unfortunately, my mother loved that movie, so I saw it playing in the house a lot.
The Percy Jackson movie.
Because
It
it
wasn't
has
very-
Nicolas Cage, right? Or like someone weird like that.
No, oh, Pierce Brosnan is in it.
That would also explain why it was constantly playing in my house growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in it. That's all I can really remember. I only saw it once years ago, and I was like, okay, this is not a good movie. Like, not even the fact that it's not like it's so different from the book. It's not. It wasn't a good movie. Books are fun though. If you like Greek mythology at all, they're good.
I do enjoy Greek mythology. Well, I think we shall. Well, yes, because Dynamite shall be a starting. E.
Yes, and I have to put ribs in the oven. Woohoo, eating ribs tonight.
But we will see you all next week. Maybe sorting wrestlers into Harry Potter houses. We shall see.
We shall.
All right. So in the name of our Lord John Cena, hustle, loyalty, and respect. Yabba-doo.